It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud to rep your city. New York's the hometown.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. I'm your host, Slice, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host, Coke and Jim, as well as our executive producer, Moo. Also joining us tonight is an ally instead of an op, as we have fellow Knick content creator from the Per 36 podcast and the Bootum YouTube page. Bootum is with us. You can follow him directly on his Twitter as well, at The Real Bootum. Hey, Bootum, man, we really appreciate you joining us today. I don't think I've said that like 5 times in a row.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. So the Knicks won 7. Yes, 7 straight games. It's a good times keep rolling for the fans in MSG as we beat the Hornets 109-97 to improve to 32-27 for the season. You know, the Knicks jumped out to a quick 9-point lead early on some hot 3-point shooting, but Charlotte was wetter than wet from deep. The rest of the quarters, P.J. Washington was 5 of 5 on his way to 17 points and a 33-30 lead for the visitors. IQ was in the catalyst for the Knicks in the second quarter on his way to 17 points for that period to keep the Knicks in it. The game was tied after a Julius Randle basket at 60 with 50 seconds to go, but 2 threes from Scary Terry gave that Hornets the 6-point advantage going into the break. In the third quarter, RJ Barrett came alive after only dropping 3 points in the first half. He dropped 18 as the Knicks were able to turn around on defense and hold Charlotte to just 16 in that period as they took the 9-point lead, 91-82 going into the fourth. From there, the Knicks defense stayed stingy, this time only giving up 15 in the final period and end up with that 12-point win that I mentioned. You know, it really was a tale of two halves for the Hornets as the offense went off in the first half before the Knicks played that trademark defense we've seen all season in the second. And while Julius Randle didn't break 30 points again, he did flirt with another triple-double while other Knicks kept the team in it on the scoring end. But 7 straight. Yo, fellas, if you asked me before the season if we'd see that, I'd tell you were out your goddamn mind. Colt, kick us off with your thoughts.
Well, for starters, dare I say that, this is becoming a good team. This is a game that, the Charlotte Hornets were crazy hot from 3. We weathered the storm in the first half. We were carried through by IQ. He was hot for us in the first half. He kept us, in the balance because he was hitting a lot of threes. He had 17 first half points, 4 3-pointers. And then we got a big second half from RJ. We needed every bit of it. He turned it on. He finished the game with 24, an efficient 8 for 17 from the field. He also hit 6 3-pointers, and he's just becoming a legitimate shooter now. So shout outs to RJ for, the development and seeing his jump shot become reliable. And we also got, like you said, major contributions from Julius Randle again, flirting with, triple-double territory. Wasn't the most efficient game, but on nights like this, you just need production. And that's what we got from our star player. And then, across the board, contributions abound. Reggie Bullock, he's just become so consistent as a 3-point shooter. Again, he's 5 for 12 from 3 tonight. And then off the bench, Derrick Rose, he's been doing his thing. I mean, I can't say more about the guy. Coming off of COVID, he had a little stretch where he didn't really look the same. He wasn't finishing at the rim. We were starting to question, does he have it? Like, is this the end of the line for Rose? Is his game falling off? Or is this more of a COVID thing? And I think it's becoming clear that, that was a COVID thing. He's hitting his stride now. And again, chipped in with 17 big points off the bench. And what I like about this team, I say it all the time, it's just the resiliency, man. I mean, this is not the Knicks of old. We were getting we were dealing with a hot team. We got more physical in the second half, stepped up our defense, continued to hit shots of our own, and we just wore the team down. And how many times have we seen teams do that to us? We would have a big first half, in seasons past, and then the second team would just turn it on in the third quarter. And we're starting to do that. So like I said, this is becoming a big team, and, it's contributions across the board. Jim, give me your thoughts, man.
Well, I want to say most excitingly that we finally broke a zone. That, we there's so many times that the zone has just bogged us down and just completely shifted the momentum of the game. And we finally broke it. Also, another thing, who would have thought at the beginning of the season that we would hit 18 threes in a game? Everyone, we've kind of figured that we'd be in the bottom half of the league 3-point shooting wise because there's no good shooters. But now RJ is a legitimate catch and shoot guy. I mean, that is just shocking considering how terrible he was from 3 last year. Another thing I kind of noticed about this game, it kind of seemed like a 3-point contest. I mean, we put up like 45 threes. I think they put up 39. It's like we've definitely adapted to this new modern NBA thing. And the biggest difference in this game for sure was they went 13 of 19 from three in the first half. We held them to 3 of 20 in the second half, just straight up lockdown. And another thing that kind of bums me out is I kind of hate watching Miles Bridges play, because it's like we got to see like a few minutes of Kevin Knox, and it's like, how did Miles Bridges lose a one-on-one game in a workout? Like, how did that happen? How did Knox end up here as opposed to Bridges? And I'm not even going to say like I was a Bridges guy coming out of that draft. I didn't even really like either of the Bridges, to be honest with you. Big L. But yeah, that kind of bums me out, because he's like legitimately good and explosive, and Knox is I don't know what to say about Knox. But yeah, Mukau, what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, I've said this for several games now. I don't worry. Right? I used to worry, like most Knicks fans, whenever something starts. You're expecting something to start steamrolling and go bad. I don't worry right now. When they hit a rough patch, I'm expecting them to come back, and they're showing that it doesn't matter. Right? They'll take a hit and they'll just brush it off, and they just keep going. I think, as far as RJ goes, RJ's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde. Like first half is Hyde or Jekyll, depending on what your preference is, and the second half is the reverse, which is good. I
have that in my notes too. I have Jekyll and Hyde,
literally,
with a few exclamation points.
But you kind of expect that. So you're like, when he's cold, you're like, okay, he'll get hot eventually, and he usually does. The team again plays really well, shorthanded, even though the Hornets, they're kind of surprising. This is the first time I've watched them play this season, and they actually a very good team. Even with two guys out, they play very fundamentally strong basketball, and it's expected, because I think their head coach is part of the coming out of the Spurs Popovich branch. I mean, you could tell he's got them clicking, right? They play defense, they pass. They stick to their strengths, right? They cover for each other. Kind of like the Knicks in a way, but you could tell definitely as the game went on, as the Knicks grinded and put the defensive pressure on them, they started wearing down, right? I think Miles Bridges was huffing third quarter. You could see him; he was tired, and that's how the Knicks win right now. Is they'll grind you, they'll hit you, they'll make you work to score points. That way, ultimately they start pulling away. I think it's a very good trend, and hopefully they carry it all the way through and into the off season, where hopefully the bigger names, right? That's we've talked about it. That's the goal, right? This team, this front office, they're trying to make this team look good for the bigger names out there, and they're doing a great job with it. This team is looking wonderful. If I was a big name player, superstar, I'd be taking notice of the Knicks right now.
Facts.
So what's your take, Bootum?
I mean, I'm kind of right there with you in the sense that, like, I don't lack faith in this team. I don't question this team at all anymore. This is someone who, like, I am definitely someone I would consider like a pessimist almost about a lot of the things the Knicks have done lately. Like, even this year, I was like kind of on that movement that's like, after the All-Star break, they're going to come back down to earth. Like, they should be in the play-in, but probably not the playoffs. And tonight, there was not 1 second in this game I thought the Knicks were in danger. Like, people were kind of freaking out the first half. It's like, oh my God, the Hornets making all these shots. PJ Washington, 17 first quarter. There was not 1 second in this game I thought they were going to lose. Like, and it's not even being like a homer fan. It's just the Knicks, like, they're just such like a resilient team. Like, they're so good. I mean, the one bad like player is Alfred Payton. And like, everyone like, and that's honestly a step up. Like, everyone, think about who the bad guys used to be. Used to be, Moody. Like, Alfred Payton is like a solid NBA player. Just
he's borderline. Don't bring it up too much. Tommy D might come after you.
I wanted to speak to Tommy about that, but like, even when everyone was freaking out, like Alfred Payton had like his Alfred Payton moment this game, and everyone freaked out. And like, if you were looking at like your Twitter timeline, you think the Knicks were down 20. Like, they were up 8. Like, they're in such a good spot right now. And obviously, like, we were playing like the Hornets without their 2 best players. But it's also, I think, kind of understated that the Knicks, they don't miss a beat no matter what happens. Like, Alec Burks has like carried them down the stretch when he was playing, And like Mitch was who he credited the defense to being good, and he's been out like most of the season now. Like they just it doesn't really matter what happens to this team. Like they're so they're just so damn good. Like I wouldn't like I don't know. I wouldn't count them out of like doing anything. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they're the 3. No, I would be surprised if they're 3 seed. But they're playing pretty damn well, and like nothing like surprises me anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely the biggest turnaround of this team is the confidence you have in him. And I think that really comes in. You know, we've said it before, and he kind of does some things that kind of annoys with the substitution patterns. But Tom Thibodeau is really what turned this team around. And having a solid coach and having that kind of presence there is really what gives us the confidence. You know, some of the fans like me and Moo and Colt, we've been there at the gym too. Kyle's usually with us. He's the younger guy. But we know what the Knicks are like having a good coach and the confidence that brings with a team and the way that you're able to use the players. You know, and Jim, you kind of took my little slice out the box tonight because it was kind of huge. You know, the Knicks, the second half discrepancy, they led the Celtics, the Hornets in 3-point shooting. You know, they had 2 more threes than the Knicks in the first half. They were up by 6. They had 4 less threes made because the Knicks went 7-22 from deep in the second half. You know, and the Knicks ended up winning by 12. So to me, this was just a literally get out there and start shooting threes. The new NBA, the Knicks are 6th in the league in shooting from deep before this game. And to me, that's huge that the Knicks finally, when our biggest weakness lately in the last few seasons has been 3-point shooting, the Knicks are finally a competent team from deep. And, you know, with that defense and that consistency from deep. And I think the other big thing I want to point out is, you know, you kind of alluded to before, Elf had his Elf moment where he drove into the paint when RJ was hot. You know what I mean? Looking him off in the corner. But sometimes he took that and broke the zone a couple of times early on, getting some layups. Obviously, Derrick Rose did it better and quickly had that, you know, momentum changing and won. But that's the biggest thing I think that Derrick Rose gives us. You know, he's been scoring a lot better lately after he had a couple of rusty games. But now he's attacking the paint, making the defense on it, hitting some, 19-foot jumpers, which we didn't see a lot of mid-range jumpers from in the past. So I think Derrick Rose, as long as he keeps playing well, man, this team's going to keep looking really good.
You know, it's funny. I'm listening to you guys talk about like not having any worries about losing this game, but there was two specific plays, and I was like, once I saw these 2 plays, I was like, the game is ours. First off, they both were in the first half, mind you. Obi Toppin makes a nice low post move, and he actually converted. I was like, hey, this is our night. If Obi
wait, hold on. Let me guess the second one.
Tell me
hit the 3. Payton hit the 3. That wasn't what? Oh, that was the one.
The second one was IQ making not only a conventional layup, but a conventional layup for a 3-point play. When I saw those 2 things happening,
right, yeah.
I was like, yo, I got to be in the twilight zone because as we know, I've been complaining all year. You know, when the floater's not working, we never see IQ mix it up and actually make, a conventional layup. So you got it through contact. And when Obi's cooking in the post, you know it's your night, man.
IQ's like, oh, sorry. I was going to say IQ's like the weirdest player ever. The way like he had that step back 3, which was like sick. But like at the same time, like I get so much more hype when he makes like a layup, which is like the easiest shot of basketball, just because of like who he is. Like I get so much hype, like, oh damn, like he's learning how to shoot layups. Meanwhile, like most of his offense comes from like threes 5 feet behind the line. Like I don't know. If he learns how to make layups, it's scary for the league.
I mean,
yeah, right.
It's exciting. It's just like when Obi makes it the basket, right? And we're cheering. So yeah.
The next time he hits a 3, I feel like the next time Obi hits a 3, it's got to be a celebration. Because I mean, I know RJ like had like a complete UFO tonight, but like I feel like every Obi 3 is like kind of like a prayer. It's like a hallelujah, like Carlton Chuck from Fresh Prince.
I celebrate it when it's just on target, like. If it
was close.
If you're not throwing up a drone, I'm happy.
if it's hitting the rim, that's a win. If it's not one of like the corner ear balls, like
and his arm
counts as
flailing too much, yeah.
So I know a lot of people like to complain because like I know last game was the win was on the back of Rose and Randle because they're old people. But tonight was really on IQ and RJ. IQ was the only reason we were in this game in the first half, and RJ turned into Klay Thompson in the second half. It's nice. It feels good to have the kids be the one carrying the win because it like makes you a little more optimistic about the future, considering that like there's so many 1-year guys on the roster.
It's funny though because I think some of those 1-year guys will be back. Like I think for continuity purposes, I wouldn't mind Bullock coming back. I wouldn't mind Burks coming back. I definitely want Noel as the bench as the big off the bench. I think it's a good thing when you can bring some of these guys back. It doesn't have to be long term, but even if it's just another 1-year deal, they see us going in the right direction. They might want to be a part of something big, and I think that's a good thing. The best teams, they learn how to play with each other. They develop that chemistry, and I want to see that carry through next year. So that's a good point. And as a fan, I'll take these wins no matter whose back it's on. I'm just happy and grateful to see winning ball in New York again, man.
So Coke, you'd want even them back, both of those guys back if Mitch comes back, to be like 3 centers.
Oh yeah, definitely, because Mitch is not a knock on him, but he's a little brittle. He gets banged up a lot. And as well, Noel isn't the most durable guy either. He's been playing through some issues this year, but he still gets hurt a lot. So you need that third guy in Taj, who came up big again. I mean, he just, he's crashing the offensive boards. He has sure hands. He just knows where to be. Just a pro's pro. He's not going to complain if Mitch and Noel are back. And, if they're healthy, he's content to, be that third big and just, mentor those guys. And if you need him, he's always ready. When you stay ready, you don't got to get ready.
Yeah, just going along with that, I've historically always been the guy. It's like, if it's not a person who's a member of the young core, even when it's like a fake young core where it's like Damian Dotson and Luke Barnett, I'm like, this win doesn't count. And normally that's fair because these years have been senseless. But I'm honestly with Coke where right now it's it's hard for me to ever have those nights this season where I'm like, oh, RJ, what was the point of securing a playoff seed tonight because RJ didn't play well. But it is nice to have nights like tonight that reaffirm that you do have a nice future in place, because I still always had that fear at the back of my head, at least early on in the season more so, where it's all right, what if this is literally just Randle going off and Nerlens Noel, and then next year we suck. It honestly, while Randle being an all NBA player is great, it's nice to have RJ Barrett as a 20-year-old shining star in Emmanuel Quick. If you get rid of Randle, you still have RJ in Quickly. That's amazing. And to have Quickly play through his little slumps and show he could still score 20 points in 20 minutes. And RJ, the thing with RJ is I don't really get concerned about these slumps anymore since his first 12 games or whatever, because just the fact he's showing flashes is good because he's 20 years old. As long as he's showing he's capable of doing it, it's kind of whatever. It's okay if he sucks the other part of the time. But it's getting past the point now where those it's crazy. Those cold streaks that used to be games are now becoming halves where he's adapting in the same game. I mean, it's crazy. Obviously it's not something we're not noticing because we're talking about it, but the fact he can have 6 threes in a game and it's not the craziest news ever, and it looked natural and not an accident in the same game he had an airball threes. It's I wasn't I thought he would never learn how to shoot open threes, but the fact that he just casually makes 6 threes is insane to me.
I want to throw an alley-oop to our tech guy. Kyle, if you could just crunch numbers and tell me what RJ's 3-point percentage is after that early rough patch. I'm sure he's super duper consistent since then. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 42%. And that's just off the eye test. So if you could get back to us with that numbers at some point, throw that out there.
Yeah, so on a related note, right, we all know that the Knicks still need a point guard, and we saw 2 tonight. Right, not the one that some of us actually wanted, right, because he's out. Some of us, not all of us, right? But the 2 that we did see, what do you guys think? Right, so because the reality is LaMelo's going to come back next year, and they're going to have 3-point guards. They could theoretically play that way, but they also have Gordon Hayward, right? And he's a kind of a ball handler, and the offense runs through him. So I think at some point they're going to possibly look at dealing one of those guys. Obviously, they're going to not deal Ball, and Hayward is on a giant contract, so he's not going anywhere. So out of Graham, right, and Rozier, do you guys picture either one of those guys as a possible fit with the Knicks?
I mean, just from watching them tonight, I want Scary Terry. I mean, Graham was pretty. He was I didn't even really notice him on the court until he hit a 3 in the second half. I was like, oh, Graham's actually playing. I didn't even notice him. Terry was hitting some ridiculous stuff tonight. So yeah, he would probably have to be the guy that I feel like they're not going to part with him now because he's kind of made a jump, not like a Randle size jump, but like he's made a jump too, where he looks like he's like a guy that you might want to keep around.
You know, if you ask,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if you ask me, it's Terry by far, and it's just because I like his mentality. He seems like one of those old Knick guards where might not be the most talented guy off the dribble or anything like that, but he's a dog. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid of the moment. He'll take big threes. He competes defensively, and he just, he's a dude that you won't have to question what's in his shirt. And I like players like that. So. They at some point they're going to have to loosen up that logjam, like you said. I do think Graham is a restricted free agent, so I don't know if someone throws a contract at him and maybe they don't match it, but one of those guys, like you said, are going to leave. I think Rozier is the better fit for New York, though, if we were to go that route.
All right, Coca.
Yeah.
You want to know? So since January 13th, which is when he was shooting 18% from three. He's been shooting 45% on 3.6 a game. He's one of 4 Knicks to be shooting over 40% from that time, including Julius Randle, Reggie Bullock, and Frank Ntilikina.
Frank, of course. I just have such a hard time believing that's real. I'm so mind blown on that because who would have thought 45% from 3?
Wait, is that what's the math on that? Is like 4 for 9 or 4 for 10 or something like that? Or 1 for 2?
4.5 shots and 10 shots.
We might have saw that for the whole. We might have saw that for the whole season if it wasn't for your boy Fizdale. He changed his shot and they made him change it back. I mean, the gift that keeps on giving.
How do you work for Pat Riley for so long and not learn how to coach at all? Just not even like one positive attribute to coaching, where you can teach someone something. He broke 2 guys' jump shots. He broke Dennis Smith Jr.'s and RJ's jumpers.
I feel bad piling on, but he literally almost derailed so many players' career. It's weird. The only player's career he actually helped was Moutier, who's now out of the league. The one guy he helped realize
he got him right.
He did get Moutier right. I will give him credit.
He got him right out of the league. That's where he got him.
he got him a spot with the Jazz, which I didn't think he was so bad, and then he got him out of the league. But he almost ended Bobby Portis's career. If they kept him the whole year, everyone thought Bobby Portis sucked. Now he's a huge part of the Bucks. He was such. I mean, it's crazy to imagine this team. This team isn't that much different from last year. Instead of adding quickly and RJ getting older. Can you imagine this team having a 4-18 stretch? It's I don't even know how you could do that intentionally, trying to win. Also, they add Marcus Morris too. So I don't know. It's crazy.
We saw it when Mike Miller took over, and he's not anything special. He's just a bench guy. You know what I mean? He's not going to get another starting gig, and he completely revitalized the team. Almost who took over the Hawks job? Was it Nate
McMillan?
Nate McMillan, yeah, it's the same thing. It's just complete night and day, a light bulb going off, losing a horrible coach and getting someone that's just normal.
Yeah, I alluded to before. Tom Thibodeau is really it's the difference of seeing what a competent coach really does, and that's the reason why Fizdale's not going to have a coaching job anymore in the league. He's not even. I don't even think he's going to be an assistant coach anymore, just because of how bad he did in New York and just how blatantly trash he was.
I hope he gets fired from the jump now. I just want him to lose everything.
if they fire him from the jump's going to be it's going to win 10 Emmys next year. It's going to become the greatest show on television.
I hope so. Just
in
spite of him.
I would hire Fizdale if I was an NBA team, just so I could fire him and see the boost that gives the team.
I think at the end of the day, he's just he was a relationships guy, man. He's not a legitimate coach. He has that personality, players like him. He was in with the Banana Boat clique. And I think it was that, Steve Mills wasn't making decisions based on actual acumen. It was more about, we got this young team and we want guys that's going to nurture them and, be able to bond with them and, all of that crap. later for that, man.
I think he's just a grifter. I think he just interviewed well. I think
Yeah.
he just like I think he duped Steve Mills and Scott Perry. Like I think he just that's what happened. He just like completely hustled them. And that's why Perry should still be fired, even though this team has been great and he kind of helped put it together. But yeah, I mean, Perry should probably still go for that.
Well, it makes sense because that's how Mills got his job, right? Is that he talked his way in without really knowing anything. So it's kind of the same thing. So he hires guys that'll kiss his ass, that'll talk him up, and that was kind of the effect that these front offices had. It's like they hired these guys for big names rather than competency. So finally got someone good in, right? Thibodeau, and some of us have already always said that Tibbs would be the perfect guy for the Knicks, right? Then he had guys that said no, he's going to wear guys out. Yeah, whatever, right? This team is going in the right direction. They've developed a superstar, a borderline superstar. So kind of screw everybody else, right? Tibbs is the man for the job.
I mean, I will say I was like vehemently anti the hire.
You're a big Kenny Atkinson guy, right?
I was a big Kenny Atkinson guy, and I won't like say I'm anti Kenny Atkinson. Like I mean, I'm not saying we haven't seen how Kenny would coach this next team. I don't think he could coach it much better though. And like I mean, in retrospect, it was. I mean, I will say a lot of it. It was just being stuck in quarantine. I probably, if the process had been dragged out so much, I don't know if I've been so anti it. As you know, as a disclaimer. But I mean, just what we're kind of nailing home here is that having a competent coach is so much. And like, while like I don't think I ever would have expected them to be this good, like they obviously like weren't going to suck considering like just the leap they took with Mike Miller. Like, I mean, I was not a pro Tibbs guy, especially after Minnesota. But I mean, like you're giving him a competent team. It's a competent coach. Like I think we're just I don't know. I was foolish. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry, Tibbs. Like he's like the coach. I mean, or like is he not the coach of the year? I mean, it's either him or like
gotta be Monty Williams down in Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like, I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
But
or
I love Monty Williams.
Everybody always says Quinn, but I think Monty. I think those are the three guys, right? And it basically depends on how the season ends. If Phoenix finishes top 2 in the West, Monty Williams, because nobody had Phoenix going up there. They're a huge surprise, and that's also speaking volumes on Chris Paul. But yeah, I mean, if the Knicks, 5th place right now, and we'll get into the matchup tomorrow, which can determine 4th place. The Knicks finish in the top 4 in the East. There's a very strong argument for Tibbs there.
Yeah, that's a pretty big wow factor if we finish top 4. Because I thought we had a bottom 5 roster like coming into the season. Like I was like fighting with people on Real GM, being like, don't worry, we're not going to win enough games. Like our team stinks. Like unless RJ makes a massive leap, we're not going to win any games. And yeah, I'm really, really wrong.
I'm gonna make my argument for Tibbs right now. With Phoenix, people knew that team was going to be good. With Paul going over there, you knew they were going to be competing. It wasn't like a doormat team situation. With the Knicks, everyone thought we would be a bottom feeder. I don't think anybody could, not a single person saw this coming. So, that you got to give that to Tibbs. And I'm going to tell you why I wanted Tibbs is because a lot of people say, I don't like him with a young team, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, when you have a young team, you need structure. And that's what this guy is going to bring. He's going to be detailed. He's going to teach you how to play defense. He's going to demand accountability. And that's what young players need. And especially if you don't have, bona fide leaders or star players on the roster. And what he did was he gave that structure. And then Julius, he put the work in, in the summer, and he blossomed into that leader. And it just became the perfect marriage.
I got 2 things. Actually, no, just one. Do you think Tibbs is the guy that leads you to the promised land, or do you think you have to get a coach after him? He's the guy that kind of like lays the foundation for you to hopefully make that next step, kind of like the Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr situation with the Warriors.
I won't say the Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr thing because I don't really think Steve Kerr is responsible for that jump. But I'm gonna take it back a little older to the Pistons. You know what I'm saying? When they hired Larry Brown and that put him over the top and made him a championship squad. So yeah, I think Tibbs is he's going to lay the foundation, like you said. Ultimately, I do think we're going to need another guy to put us over the top when we get some big dogs on this roster. And that's probably because, Tibbs, he probably has a short shelf life with the way he coaches. You just see him on the sidelines, that gruff voice, he's yelling constantly. When you get some big vets, Obi.
Obi.
When you get some big time vets in here, I don't know if they're gonna want to hear that all game, every game. And
He's also kind of old too. He's what, 63?
60 something. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, how long are you going to keep doing this for? I mean, like, can you imagine him yelling on the sidelines at 70 years old? I mean, I feel like it's hard. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to explode.
He probably will. The guy doesn't have a wife.
Bro, he was like that on the 90s Knicks on a bench with Van Gundy. You heard him yelling for defense and stuff. So, I mean, to that point as well, I don't think it's really a bad thing where if we get the star player and he doesn't want to play under Tibbs, do we want that star player? Like, you got somebody like Jimmy right now who still still talks about playing under Tibbs, respects the way that he coaches and respects the hustle and energy that he demands out of his players right now. Now, do star players want to play 40 minutes a night? Hell no. That's why you're never going to get Kawhi Leonard on the Knicks, because he wants his little rest days. You know what I mean? So you're not going to get most of these superstars now with Tibbs there. But I think the way to foundationally build this team correctly, and I feel like, Kenny Payne, and a lot of things with Tibbs is also the assistants, right? We talk a lot about the head coaches, but early on we were also bringing up Kenny Payne a lot, Johnny Bryant. Those hires were very key. And I think Kenny Payne really got to Julius Randle. So the biggest thing is not really the head coach, it's the assistant and the supporting staff around them. So the Knicks finally bring those two guys in, finally get player development coaches, right? Youngest team for how long, or young players. Now we finally invest a little bit. And that's just where the big thing comes from, I think, is not just looking at Tibbs as a whole, but maybe do we promote from within? Is Johnny Bryant our next guy, right, as opposed to looking for the next big name? And I was going
to say Kenny Payne is the guy that's in waiting. If there's somebody in waiting, he turned down I guess they both turned down big jobs.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say Johnny Bryant's the associate head coach right now. In my most dismal Tibbs takes days, I was like the Johnny Bryant post All-Star game takeover is gonna hit different. Like, I think he could be that next guy. I don't know. It's an interesting question. We'll see how much these little things add up down the line. I mean, it's kind of hard right now to imagine the first coach to make the Knicks good again to be out the door. But also we literally just saw that happen with Mike Woodson the first time. So anything can happen. And right now it's all right, whatever, if Elfrid Payton starts, we're just trying to build something. Maybe down the line that loses them a playoff game, when they're trying to win for real, so we'll see. But yeah, I think just on Johnny Bryant, I think that's huge. And I think that's kind of huge on why Minnesota didn't work out and why the Knicks is, where in Minnesota, there was a lot of non-communication, and you can literally see the direct impact of Johnny Bryant when Knox comes out of a game for messing up 3 times in a row on defense. Tibbs will just continue gruffly coaching the game, which is fair. But then Johnny Bryant's come here, Kevin. You can't not guard your guy. You gotta make shot. You literally see him pull over these guys and connect with these players in a way that Tibbs might not necessarily be able to with these younger guys, at least wasn't able to in Minnesota. So, I mean, I think keeping Johnny Bryant and Kenny Payne on board is huge. And I could definitely see Johnny Bryant being that guy in the future to take over. But it is even as someone who started off pessimistic on Tibbs, it's kind of hard for me to be Tibbs is keeping Johnny Bryant's seat warm at this point with how good the vibes are.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tibbs has a pretty long shelf life. I think what's kind of important, or it depends, right? A lot of times, these big name players, they have their guys, right, that they want to, quote unquote, coach them, right? We see that in Brooklyn, right? Steve Nash has no experience. I'm not sure how much he's actually coaching, right? When you got guys like that, they do whatever they want, right? So yeah, if we get guys like that, that might factor into Tibbs not being the long-term guy. But then again, a lot of these guys have played with Tibbs on Team USA, right? So they know him. And he's not Kenny Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson is a career, right? Up until the Nets, he was an assistant coach, right? He's not a big name. Tibbs is. So I think it's possible that there are stars out there that will want to play for Tibbs. I mean, we see one, right? How well Randle's doing. So are there guys out there? Maybe not the KD, right, prima donna types, but other guys, right, a tier down. If they can add this and these guys grow as well, just like Randle did, we might have something.
You got to find personality. You got to find personality.
Yeah, it's all about fit, right? We see this team fitting because they play well together. right? They're all on the same page, even though they're not talented. So it's the job of the front office to find the right guys, right? They found the right guys for this year, and they're doing well. So hopefully, with how much cap space, $65 million, and a much better team on paper and to the eyes, and hopefully they'll be able to figure out something with the next 2 years, and add that big name, one guy or two guys. If you add a big name like a Bradley Beal, who I don't know that fits. I want to throw some names around. I don't think he fits.
Yeah, I wouldn't track him down. That's for sure.
Yeah.
A guy like Lillard, Lillard would be, he would work under Tibbs. His mentality.
Right.
That's a New York mentality. That's a hard-nosed grinder who he's hungry. I just don't think he'll ask out of Portland unless they like.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream situation.
Yeah.
He fits like a glove.
Yep.
But again, that's like we're getting off. I feel like we're getting off topic because that's like definitely it's such a dream.
Let's talk about Zion coming to the Knicks.
I'm going to put my Chris Bouchard hat on and say that he's not going to come, Knicks fans. We're making this whole thing up just to get clicks, and we're going to make fun of you anyway.
He's definitely interested, but I just don't know if it's anything that can feasibly happen anytime soon. I mean, most rookies, they sign their deal before they ask out. You know what I'm saying? They don't really get out before signing that extension. So, it could happen because RJ's here. We know it would be great for his brand, great for his legacy. But I think he's gonna have to like toil in New Orleans for a while, lose a little bit, get fed up, sign that extension, and then try to push his way out after that.
I don't want to give any credibility to those reports. It's typical Knicks for clicks. No, Zion just said he likes playing in New York. Who doesn't like playing in New York? Now you're getting those headlines that all these guys want you to click on, want you to read, and want you to laugh at Knicks fans saying you thought you were getting Zion just like you thought you were getting KD and Kyrie. It's just ridiculous to me. I'm not entertaining that. I would love to see him on, but realistically, he's not going to forego his rookie his extension there. He's not going to forego his $100 million that he's going to get, whatever it's going to be at that point. I think it's unrealistic and a pipe dream. I would love for him to come to New York, but it won't be for another 5+ years. So why even talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, that's assuming his knees hold up, right? Like, if it does, I picture him in a Laker uniform. But
if he stops waddling on the court,
yeah.
He literally waddles.
It's so weird to see a professional athlete like walk like how he walks. Like, I don't want to make fun because he like can put up 26 points like without trying. But
it's crazy like how slow he can look at times, like as he walks, as he's on defense, and then like he'll score 30 at will just because like he wants to more than the defender wants to stop him. Like if he wants to get to the rim and score, he will. I brought up the Zion thing like as a joke, but I will say that like contracts in the NBA. Contracts in the NBA like kind of don't matter anymore. Like just let James Harden go to Brooklyn because you want to go to Brooklyn. They let Anthony Davis go to LA because they want to go to LA. I mean, if Zion Williamson wanted to go to New York, I feel like Adam Silver, he might wait until that happens before he starts cracking down on these trade requests. Like I'm not saying it's going to happen or definitely not soon. But I mean, I don't think the NBA, like the big guys up top, I think they'd be a little happy to have Zion in New York. I mean, that'd be insane, as we all
it's the least preposterous situation that could be proposed. Like, there's always everyone always suggests that there's like some ridiculous superstar that wants to come to New York, but like having his like best friend here, like that actually kind of makes it a little bit possible. So it's like a little less ridiculous than a request. Like expecting like Anthony Davis to want to come here or something like that when we don't have anyone here, so it's like at least not as ridiculous as other superstars that have been paired with us.
I mean, even RJ aside, I think the most important factor, even beyond that, is that we're winning. Players are going to want to come once we win. New York was always the place you avoid because we were ass, but now we're actually turning a corner, and I think that makes all the difference. But being that we're talking about things around the NBA, I just want to talk about, like, I'm a person who likes to keep my ear to the street. Kyle, talk to me, man. What's going on in the chat? Let us know what's bubbling. Let us know what's going on so we could address anything. And before we move on to our next matchup.
That's your guy's job. That's not my job.
Hey, man, I'm blind.
I'm the lookup guy. I look stuff up. You guys keep an eye on the chat. They want to talk to you.
I have something.
No, I'm just saying. Tell us what they're saying, man. I can't see that shit.
Yeah, pull it up, man. That's your job. We just got a bunch of people trying to say that I'm wrong about the RJ shooting stats, but I'm right.
That's why you don't want to talk about the chat right there.
Yeah, they're wrong.
You just told on yourself,
especially MP Harris. He's so off with that. But
even though you said Frank is one of the 4.
Yeah. Well, okay, no, he doesn't. He didn't say anything about Frank. You know,
Okay.
I think he got like his moment at that, and then he decided to go off. We got Ozzy Martinez in the chat. Says he's finally made it to live podcast. Keep it up, doing great. You know, much respect. He also says that
Ozzy.
He also says that he thinks it's going to be more of a up and coming guy coming in, not a guy like Lillard, even though that's who he wants. And we also got Rob back. He says Jimmy Butler likes Tibbs, so that's one guy.
I mean, I will say a key thing of the Zion thing is not necessarily that he wants to play in MSG and like Zion himself. I think like a huge thing is that stars have always Zion's just one of like many stars to want to come to the Knicks lately. Like everyone says they love MSG and no one ever does. And that's like kind of what people have been bringing up with Zion saying that. But the thing is the Knicks have sucked. Like the Knicks are good. Like stars have been dying for an excuse to come to the Knicks. I mean, Kemba Walker said he wanted to come to the Knicks like if KD came here. Like now the Knicks are good. Like stars have an excuse to like get to play in New York and like want to play in New York.
No one wanted to save us. That's why.
Yeah, but like now no one has to save us. They can just like come here, be like the king of New York, and like let Randle carry them. Like
there's some help here finally because I feel like it's such a large burden. You know, it makes sense why Irving and Durant didn't want to come because it's like, do you really want to be the savior of a franchise that's been horrible for 20 years?
But that's the thing, right? We've seen guys that wanted to do that, and we've seen what happens to them, right? When they can't pull a miracle, right? So we saw it with Carmelo. We saw it with Steph, right? Guys that were New Yorkers that wanted to play and because they you know, for whatever reason, you know, they just wanted to play at home. They believe that they can actually, you know, win with the team, whatever bad decisions, you know, whatever it is. We've seen what fans do with them, right?
Yeah.
So of course it's going to scare away other guys, right? Because they're all friends. They know the deal. If you're going to come into the Knicks with the team the way it's been for the last 20 years, save 1 year, you better, you know, have your big boys pants on. And if you can't pull a miracle out of your backside, they're going to get on you. That's just New York, right?
I mean, we almost chased Ewing out before the 90s.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even him, and he was the cream of the crop in the last 50 years. You know, he almost got ran out by the press and the fan base. So it's tough. It's tough to be forced into that savior role because if you fail, it's rough.
Hey, so we got a question real quick for you guys from
now you want to read the question.
Now that I know you guys aren't paying attention, man. That's all on me. So Ozzy wants to know if Randle has any buddies like Kyrie and KD, the Banana Boat trio. He says he doesn't think it seems like that way. I mean, besides his best friend Elfrid Payton, of course.
Yeah. I know Randall's buddy. I'll take this one, man. Y'all ain't gonna like it though, considering last game. Lonzo Ball, that's his buddy, man. When they were on the Lakers and he got traded, Lonzo, you know, on his little reality show, or whatever, he was a little sick that his man was leaving. So we know they got a rapport. You know what I'm saying? Now, I want Lonzo to come. It wasn't a good showing last game. I still believe in the kid. He's a ball mover. He's an intangibles guy. No, he's not going to take the ball into his own hands and, you know, generate offense with driving kicks. But I think he's like a good complementary player. You get him and you get one other star, and now we're cooking.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's easy to overlook the fact that this dude is 23. And like you just said, he's not the driving kick guy. I wouldn't say he's not. Me that, like, again, he's 23 and look at like the massive changes to his game. I mean, he went from a 57% free throw shooter last year to 80% this year. Like, this is a guy that's like still making massive strides. And if he's like, say he's this guy forever, even though he sucked last game, like, yeah, he's still like a guy who's gonna come in here and shoot like 40% of threes and play solid defense and move the ball around, which is like all we've wanted from Elfrid Payton. Like, we're all mad at Elfrid Payton, like, isn't passing RJ in a fast break. Lonzo is gonna pass it to RJ too much on the fast break. I think he would fit pretty well. I think the only concern is like, is he worth like 4 years, $80 million? And the answer is probably not. But I mean, I think if Randle could get Lonzo to come on board, maybe like get him a little like CA under the bus paycheck to, I don't know. Pull some Leon Rose, Worldwide West, get you stuff. Get Lonzo to take a pay
Some
cut.
tampering.
And
Some tampering.
yeah, just do some of that. And I think I'd be very happy to have Lonzo with the Knicks. I don't know if it's financially credible, but I think it would be pretty good.
I think that's the issue. There's diminishing returns on that contract because you have to steal him. I feel like maybe at like 18, it's like passable, and you're just like, okay, like whatever. And he might be a slight overpay, and you like kind of hope he ends up playing into that. But like, I feel like it's going to cost like 23, 24 to make it happen. Because like, I mean, we saw what the Pelicans look like. They like don't really have any guard play. I'm honestly kind of shocked that they're going to let him walk, because of how bad their backcourt is.
Well, they want to do point forward with Zion, right? So
yeah, so maybe that, but still, like he plays often, like great. Like that's like what you would want in your point guard is somebody that can just catch and shoot at 40%. So
I can't see them keeping him, because the only way you could is you got to move Adams, and who's going to take Adams at the numbers he's making?
Yeah, they got to move. I think they got to move Bledsoe too, because they're like in attacks with both of them. I think.
Well, Lonzo doesn't want to come back either, right?
No, he doesn't.
I mean, but it's weird. It's like, why would you want to leave? Like, I get like New Orleans is like a bad market, but like, why would you want to leave playing with Zion? It's like maybe playing with like
it doesn't go to him. It doesn't run through him.
He's just stuck in the corner. He's Frank if he stays there, man. Nobody wants to be Frank.
Yeah, nobody wants to be Frank.
Nobody wants to play defense and hit threes. Y'all are crazy, man. Always with the Frank slander, even when he doesn't play. It's ridiculous. But before we move on to the next game, Coke, let's get to your scrub of the night for tonight.
All right, scrub of the night. I gotta go over Devonta Graham. Like Jim alluded to earlier. He was just out there, didn't really notice him. This is a guy who's supposed to be like, a volume 3, scorer, putting up a bunch of shots, keeping the defense honest. And he didn't really do that tonight. 3 for 10 from the field, 7 threes. That's not a lot for Graham. So he just didn't make an impact. So he definitely earned it. Pretty much the other guys, they were hot. We saw Rozier, bombs away, Benoodles from 3. Same thing with Washington, bombs away, Benoodles from 3. I understand they were hot, but Graham, you got to get them up, man. If Graham hits a couple, maybe they gain some more momentum in the second half when those other guys cooled off. So scrub of the night, Devonta Graham. I'm gonna throw this over to Bootum's way, man. Who's your scrub of the night? Give us a scrub from the Knicks who you just didn't see out there tonight.
Oh, well, all right. So I mean, I guess my if it's a Knick, I gotta go with Kevin Knox, who just like was a very Knoxville like nothing in 6 minutes and a half. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. Like people were tweeting about him, and like I had the game on and I didn't even like realize he was in the game. Like, so he's my scrub of the night. I didn't even like notice him out there except for like at the end when he was screwing up. He's the one guy that like hasn't gotten to fix himself this year, even though like he did fix himself at the beginning of the year. So the fact he's come all the way back down to going scoreless against the Hornets after, I remember in the beginning there, he like carried the Knicks. So he's the definite score of the night, going from like the hero against the Hornets to the literal 0.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Peyton, man, for that look off.
Oh yeah, true.
That's everyone's favorite whipping boy.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's getting like tired to roast Peyton. Like I prefer like at this point I like to like ironically like root for him. Like, good job, Alfred. You made he's 7 points now. That's pretty good. Like I couldn't score 7 points in the NBA. Like good job, Alfred.
I was like off screen. Well, like what's that that cartoon dude with the fist? I can't remember. Arthur. Yeah, he's making an Arthur fist right now. He hates Peyton, man.
And just like that, Bootum never came back.
I don't like Peyton.
You booted him.
I don't like Peyton either. Like I've like lost. Like I don't have the strength. Like I wrote it like I wrote like 2,000 words on why Alfred shouldn't play again. Like 3 games into the year. Like that was like the last time I had energy to like speak on Alfred. So for now, I'll root him on, baby.
That's plenty of words on Alfred Payton 2000.
Yeah, he was a plus 17 tonight. He goes beyond. No, I can't.
That's elite.
That's all I can say.
I was gonna say you really got on Kyle's bad side now. Plus minus stats and Elf.
I'm sorry.
Nah,
Who
man,
knew?
but-
Who knew? PJ Washington was secretly Anthony Davis. Like, who expected him to like go off in the way that he did?
Kenny
Like,
Payne.
Kenny Payne.
That's the Kenny Payne effect from Kentucky. Like Kenny Payne made PJ Washington, he made Anthony Davis, and maybe PJ Washington will be a future Knick too.
If he just breathes the same air as Kenny Payne, like Kentucky people go off. That's like the
bodes
rule.
well. That bodes well for us and BJ Boston, man.
Yeah. Oh God. That's a talk for a whole other time.
Just in second round or there, or I'll probably go higher than that, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope
reach.
it's this. Yeah, let's hope it's the second rounder.
Nah, definitely. But no, I think that's a good point, though. What Ozzy brought up before, the only thing that Randle and the Knicks really have is Kentucky guys. And if we don't get any of those Kentucky guys, it's going to be hard for, superstars to get here, I think, But, let's take a look forward to the next game. Speaking of a star, you're going up against Trae Young. Right now, the Hawks just won 12 points as well, like the Knicks just did, 112-96 victory over Orlando. They fly to MSG tomorrow. They're sitting right now a half game in front of the Knicks in fourth place. So, yes, if the Knicks can win 8 in a row, we'll move up to fourth in that home court advantage in the playoffs, when just a week ago, everybody was talking about the play-in games. Coke, I'll kick it off to you for your prediction first.
You already know, man. I'm not betting against us on this streak. Let's ride this till the wheels fall off, bro. We're going to hit some potholes. I'm still picking us. I think the Knicks are going to pull it out, man. And the major reason why I'm saying this, and we haven't talked about this enough, is the Knicks are like home cooking. You know what I'm saying? We haven't seen the MSG advantage for a long time. It's almost been like a home court disadvantage in past seasons because, we wouldn't play well. The crowd would start getting on us, get in players' heads, and then we would just fold. But now it's only 2,000 in the building, but it sounds like way more.
Loud, yeah.
Players don't want to, they're not coming here for the stage and being serenaded. It also it actually feels like they're on the road. So I think we're going to continue the good play. We got a strong home stretch, and I think we're going to get that 8th win in a row.
Yeah, I'll go with Coke. I think they're on a roll. I mean, the Hawks, you can't take anything away from them. They're playing great too, right? They're another team that's doing far better than anybody expected. But I think the Knicks' roll is stronger right now, and I expect them to roll over the Hawks. Jim?
RJ always plays great against Cam Reddish. I don't think Cam Reddish is even in the rotation right now, but just him being in the arena at the same time. And like Coke said, we're an elite home team. And I just, you know what? I picked us to lose against Dallas, and I feel really guilty about it. So I don't think I'm going to pick us to lose again until we actually lose. So I'm going to say W against Atlanta. They also played tonight, so we're both on back-to-backs, which is a big deal.
I'm gonna go with you there. The me of old would have said, "Hey, the Hawks are on a hot streak. We're coming off back-to-back." Even though the Hawks also are, let's hold our horses, or whatever the phrase is. But I don't think in good conscience you can not root against, but expect the Knicks to not win, especially when the Knicks have had, even like in the physical years, the Knicks always had the Hawks number. And I will say, you talked about the RJ Cam Reddish effect. Don't underrate the fact that Lou Williams is on the Hawks now, and Emmanuel quickly wants to one-up his idol yet again. He kind of played well against him on the Clippers. So right. I think that's a pretty big factor too. Also, like, I don't think Lou Williams could guard IQ or Derrick Rose for that matter. So I'll go. We got two
motivators now. We got 2 motivators for our guys, so that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's not really much more I could say. I think everybody hit it there. The only thing that I'll allude to is what Jim said. None of you guys had faith, except for you, Bootum. None of these guys had faith against the Mavs. I picked them. I keep thinking the Knicks are going to keep winning, though. 8 in a row. It's going to be tough. It's hard to keep that sustained winning streak going. So realistically, right, you got to try to temper your expectations there. But no, I think the Knicks keep winning. I think, the Hawks, just also being on a back-to-back, having to fly up to New York, and the Knicks having to stay able to stay at home tonight, I think is probably going to be one of the bigger factors in that game. 40 minutes for RJ, 40 minutes for Julius, but that's nothing new than what they've seen all season anyway. So I think they'll still be prepared for that. And I think the Knicks will come out with their 8th straight win and keep this homestand and the home crowd looking good, or feeling happy, I should say. But, let's start to wrap it up here then, fellas. Coke, I'm going to kick it to you for your final thoughts, man.
I had to put hands together, man. This is only the second time since we started doing this that we got a unanimous prediction. Nice.
That's sweet.
But yeah, to close things out, man, I'm a team player. I'm going to do my part. I'm gonna make sure that we beat the Hawks, and I'm gonna make my contribution by sliding into Lou Williams' DMs. I know a strip club that got some banging lemon pepper wings. I hope you go. I want to see him go over there, get too many lap dances, come to the game looking drunk or like he don't got his legs, man. So I'm gonna do my part. But nah, seriously, man. What can I say? This is the new Knicks. It's not the same Knicks of old, not same old Knicks. It's just refreshing to see a team that you actually you watch the game and you expect them to win. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give them their flowers tonight because it's a feel-good season, underdog. Nobody expected this, and that just makes it all the more refreshing. And I just can't wait until the Garden is full again. And, they can get a serenade and a strong ovation from the crowd because they deserve it after the way they're playing this season. So, again, let's hope this winning streak continues. Mo, you can give me your final thoughts, man.
Yeah, I said this a couple of podcasts ago for the really young Knicks, right, that hadn't experienced the 90s Knicks. This is kind of how it feels like. Right. These are the teams this is the 90s Knicks in a 2021 version. Right. They grind. They'll defend. They'll battle. They won't give up. Right. They don't have the greatest talent, just like the 90s Knicks, but they'll grind and they'll win. So this is kind of what it feels like. Just ride it. Right. Stop complaining. Stop waiting for something to go wrong. Just ride it for as long as it takes. This team looks legit, right? They may not be a championship caliber team, but you know what? So what, right? They're not the Knicks of the past 20 years. So just ride with it, go with it, and just just enjoy it.
So you're saying this is the orange and blue version of Back to the Future? I feel you, bro.
Yep. Yep.
I guess my final thought is that it's cool to watch RJ have really a horrible first half and then all of a sudden go game busters and throw the team on his shoulders and win a game. I feel like this is like probably the third or fourth time this season that our 20-year-old has kind of like lifted us up for victory. And that's kind of really my final thoughts on the game. It's cool to get led to wins by 20-year-olds.
Bootum, how about you, man?
I guess similar vibes. It's just crazy for me as someone who loves to complain to have nothing to complain about. Like the fact that the Knicks again had the 8th pick in the draft and he, Knox, and Frank are all not in the rotation. And I don't care. I would love to see Frank play, but I don't care. It's crazy. It doesn't matter. The Knicks are good, and how can you be upset? So I don't know. There's
no wasted minutes. There's no wasted minutes where you're just how dare that doesn't go to so and so because he's out there for no reason. It's it all matters.
It's Reggie Bullock is the bad player that I want. That you could want Knox to play for. And it's Reggie's killing it right now. It's
I
don't know. It's just crazy how good the vibes are and how this is genuinely a good team where I don't know. It's crazy that you could make a 90s Knicks comparison for the first time and it's not a joke, alluding back to preseason when Marcus Morris said, "Oh, we're bringing it's every year it's we're bringing the 90s Knicks back."
Yeah.
Austin Rivers saying we're going to be great, and then he stinks. But hey, Austin Rivers gone out, and now we actually are the 90s Knicks. So I don't. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. No offense, Austin Rivers. If you're listening,
Austin Rivers.
Thanks for Utah. Yeah, thanks for Utah.
Austin Rivers.
Yeah, thanks for Utah. I think that's one of the funniest underrated storylines of the year where he talked a big game, he kind of backed it up and then he completely stunk and
for one game
now he's gone. But we are good. I guess in a way he did bring the Knicks back as he intended out to. So shout out Austin, wherever you are now.
He died for our sins, man.
Yeah.
He was the Utah Jazz killer this season because he did step up big when needed when the Knicks, when a lot of people were still iffy on how the Knicks season was going to go. So, we'll give him that. You're always in our hearts this season for that, Austin. But, like you guys said, I can really only echo that, finally positive vibes for the Knicks. I've been preaching positivity for a little while. We got some younger guys around here, Kyle, who were a little bit negative somewhat recently. But, hopefully all the other fans are turning around. Jim was on that tank train earlier. That tank train is definitely out of here. It's got to be playoffs from here on out. there's really no point. We're at 5th, fighting for 4th. Let's just keep winning. But yeah, the Knicks defense was huge tonight. 66 points in the first half, only 31 in the second, and that's really the big comparison to the 90s Knicks. 7 wins in a row now, and while Julius couldn't keep his streak of 30 going, he flirted again with the triple-double, while IQ, RJ, Rose, and Bullock scored when needed and helped out, getting the ball in the hoop for the Knicks. We continue the homestand tomorrow night in the aforementioned big game against the Atlanta Hawks, the 3rd of this 6-game homestand. We thank everybody for tuning in to this latest edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. Bootum, we really appreciate you taking time to join us today, man. It was really cool having you on. And, make sure everybody who's listening right now, if you like it, give us a thumbs up, as well as subscribing to make sure you can catch our future videos when they come out. We'll catch you guys tomorrow night, and we out.
It's no blood, no foul. It's no blood, no foul.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
This is our house. NYC forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that cloud. Till we run that clock out. MSG Mecca, our house. NYC forever, mob out. Kid trip, cloud.